Hello, and welcome to my workshop. I'm Andy Anderson. So I'm going to move on to the next phase of covering to the S1 pits. This is going to be where I show you the tools that I used along the way and materials that I applied. So first off, I'd like to show you this wing panel, just so you know where we're headed down to. It's a completed covering waiting for the Eco Prime to go on. So this is covered with their lightweight fabric, the SF104, with Eco Bond around the perimeter, the simulated rib stitching down the ribs, and Eco Bond over the rest of the covering. That's how I got to there. From a wing panel that looks like this. So this wing panel is open structure. It'll be the next one that I go to cover, and I'll be demonstrating what I'm doing on this so you can see exactly what I do. So this is ready to go. It's all sanded, ready to go. The only thing you'll have to do is take a tack rag and wipe it all down before you put the covering on, much like any other covering job we do in our model airplanes. So next thing I want to do is show you the tools that I've decided to use, which are really just modeling tools that you would normally use in building an airplane. I just happen to want to show you the ones I've selected and why. And that allows you to see what I did. But first, before I get into that, what I'd like to do is show you a couple things that I didn't use. I'm happy to say I did not have to use a respirator because all of the Stewart products are waterborne products, which means they don't smell. They're not hazardous to our bodies. You can smell it in all day long. It does not hurt you. So no need for a respirator. Real glad about that. Secondly is this box of gloves. I have lots of these around the shop, and I use them for a lot of different things. Much like for the respirator, I'll use it for doing the spraying of the automotive paint with the gloves as well. But with this stuff, if it gets on your fingers, it's easy to take right back off again. It's not a struggle. So you don't need gloves. For me, I tried it and it got in the way. Third thing you don't need, and they highly recommend you don't use, is white paper towels. And I'll get into what they do use, but don't use a white paper towel. Set those aside for those spills that you make in your shop for other things, but not for cleaning up the glue Eco Bond off of the aircraft. So set those aside out of the way for emergency use. From there, I'll show you the first thing that goes on is the fabric. This is the fabric SF104 Seconite. It's 1.8 ounces per square yard, lightweight fabric. It's 72 inches wide by however long you purchased. I bought 8 yards of it. And it makes it very easy to cover full-size areas like the wing panels all in one piece. So there's the fabric. Next thing I need is a way to cut it. So what I typically have around my shop for cutting any covering material is a nice pair of shears that I don't use for anything other than fabric, which keeps them very sharp for that. And I don't use it for cutting cardboard or other stuff around the shop. I use it just for fabric. The other set of scissors that I use a lot of on this are these small scissors, which helps go around in small areas, nipping and tucking and whatever. And also it does a really good job of ripping down the fabric as well. So these are really nice to have. They're easy to maneuver with. Third set of scissors I have are these pinking shears. And these shears are 2 millimeter shears, which almost comes to the point where the rib stitching fabric that I purchased, which is also pinked in shape, is about the same size. Not exact, but close enough for what I'm doing here for the realism that I'm trying to achieve. So that's good. So then it comes down to, once you get the fabric all set, ready to go, you want to start putting it onto an airframe. The material you're going to use is the EcoBond. And this is their container of EcoBond. It goes a long way. When I go to use this, I went ahead and did what they've done. I've developed a holder. These two pieces are glued together so that I can put a cup in it or multiple cups in it. When I'm done using it, I can take it out and throw it away. And I'm not wasting the holder. I can make another one. The holder itself is good for putting it on the workbench and not losing control of it. It doesn't tip over, it doesn't spill, which makes it very nice. It also has the ability of holding up brushes into the belly of the holder and keeps a place for that instead of laying on the workbench. Good little tool. The brushes that are used to apply the EcoBond to the airframe, as well as the Seconite or SF104 to the airframe, you can use, I have a lot of these. These are sponge brushes, that foam brushes that you can use, and I have different sizes. And I started using those, but I realized that for my purposes, and everybody's different, for my purposes, I like using a 3/8 inch artist brush that is just the right size for making perimeter edges of EcoBond around places that I can then put the fabric down to, and use the same thing to push through the fabric when we get ready to do that. So a nice brush. I can throw away the sponge brushes, which makes it nice. They're not real expensive, and you can throw them away. This brush here I keep, and when I'm done using it for a particular piece, I drop it into a cup of water so it stays soft and easier to clean. So that's my go-to brush. As you're putting that stuff down, you're going to want to use their recommended blue shop towels. They don't recommend white towels at all. They recommend the blue shop towels. So make sure you get some blue shop towels. You can get them from Home Depot. You can get them from Autoport store. You can get them from Amazon. You can get them in a lot of different places. But this is what you want to use. When they do it on their demonstrations, they use a full-size shop towel. And for our purpose, because I'm working in small pieces, I went ahead and split it all up into half or quarter size. So these are my quarter size pieces. I keep them stacked up, so I just grab one. And that makes it so I don't have to throw away a big towel every time I use it. You don't want to use it over and over again. You want to use it and get rid of it. So that saves me a lot of having to deal with big towels. So once that's done, and you have the Seconite, the cloth cover, secured around the perimeter with EcoBond, next thing you're going to want to do is heat that covering with an iron to shrink it down, to make it tight, so that you can work on it the next pieces, which they highly recommend a digital iron, which I have several of them here for my other covering stuff, but a digital one, so you can dial up 250 degrees and keep it there. They didn't recommend that I use anything more than 250 degrees, which worked for me every time I did it. So, but for me, from long time modeling, I like doing covering, and I've got a lot of covering tools as well. So this trim iron is one of my favorite tools for doing covering. And I decided, well, let me check it. So on the low setting, there's a low and a high. On the low setting, as I checked it against the larger iron for 250 degrees, the low setting on here matched it. So I don't have an indicator on here. It says 250, but I can sense that it's about the same temperature by using different devices. So that's another one that I want to use. The other pieces that I wanted to show you is, this is the simulated rib stitching covering that I put on. And I purchased this from a company right here. It's Likewise Enterprises. And they cut it to a nice finish of a stitching covering that is pinked down both edges. And I use the pinking shears to cut off what I want, so it has pinked edges all the way around. This is a 3/4 inch wide piece, which is scale-wise matches up to my model. This is a 2-inch wide piece, which also scales down to the 44% from full size, but I'm not using a lot of perimeter tape so far, and I don't know that I will, but I do have it. And that's what it's for, is for perimeter tape. If you see that being put on full-size aircraft, this is a model size. Once you're working with this, and you don't want to have the gum stuff on the wing, you'll get some built-up residue of EcoBond. Once it's cured, it doesn't come off with anything, except for they sell an eraser, and it's a gummy eraser that you can rub on top of it, and it wears it away and it wipes it away. It works really well. They what I purchased was what they recommended, going to Harbor Freight and getting this sanding belt cleaner and using this. So this should last me a long time for what I'm going through. But that's how you clean off their EcoBond. It gets into built up, and want to get it rid of it, so it doesn't show through the finish. Once you do that, you get to that point, like I have with the one wing panel that's already done. I'm going to cover everything at that point and get it to that same stage where I'm ready for the primer, the Eco Prime. And this is their Eco Prime. It's white in color, and it's sprayed on. You can brush it on, but I'm going to spray it on. It looks better to me. That would be the last thing that I put on before paint. And when I do that, I'll be using the 320 grit open coat sandpaper and sanding down all the surfaces that I just covered. And that brings it to a point where, after you've sanded that down, you can now go right straight to paint. And I'm going to be going to a 2-stage base coat, clear coat, automotive paint. And that takes me right up to that. It'll be smooth and ready to go for doing that. It'll be a really nice substrate that everything can adhere to. So that's what I've been using. Let me forget. One thing you want to do is get a bottle of distilled water. And that is in case you have to dilute any of their product, which they tell you you can do that. So the distilled water is good for all that. At that point, I'm going to have a whole aircraft ready for their primer, Eco Prime, and sanded down, and it's going to go to paint. It shouldn't take very long. It's a real easy product to use. It dries fast. It sands quick. As far as I'm concerned, you can do this in a very short period of time. So there's what I've done with all my tools and my materials here on the workbench, and wanted to share that with you. What I'm going to go to next is how I did the